Yo, 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 yo. What up, comiXsense crowd, community, crew? Listen, we're back with another episode of Comic Sensory Perception, CSP. I am Issue X. We got the homies Ian Michael, and Trobes up in the building. ComicSams will be joining us at a point in time or another. And possibly Rich doesn't read for another Friday night. Just got paid. We just got paid. We've been saying every week we want to get lights up in here. I got a light up in here. Obviously, I turned the lights out, but we got a light up in here. We got the ring light. Peep the ring light game. Yo, we can do all kind of cool stuff with it too. Like, bam, bam. I like this particular light setting, so I'm not going to increase it right now because it makes my face look really shiny with a ring light. But anyway, enough of that. We're going to get this show on the road. Again, we're going to start it off the same way we started off every week. We are going to throw... Made a mistake. We are going to throw our little scroll that says like and follow comiXsense on Facebook and join our Facebook group. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us at comiXsense on Instagram and on the Twitter. Shout out to everyone in the room watching on Facebook, watching on YouTube. We're going to get your comments going. Shout out to Peter Maresca. What up, what up, what up? And we're going to get the rest of the people in. First off, we have Kaiser Trobes. Shout out to Kaiser Trobes. Say what up to the people.
What up, people? I'm Trobes, and you're not.
Turn your mic down just a little lot. Your mic is really loud.
What if I back up?
You sound like a rapper. Like, oh my God, Becky.
Look at her. How's that?
Way louder. Like it got louder. You're really loud. Ian was really loud for some reason. Really loud. Just go into your mic settings and just turn it down a little.
I am.
And while Trobes is adjusting his mic settings because he's super loud, we have Ian Michael in the house. Shout out to you, Ian Michael. Shout out to the people.
Shout out to the people. Trobes, fantastic shirt tonight.
Thank you very much.
Man, Trobes, you're loud.
It figures Ish schedules one of these things like during the Bills game.
I mean, no, the Bills game is scheduled during Comic Sensory Perception because we are always a Friday night at 9, give or take, and we're going to kick it. We're going to talk about a lot of the things related to comic books this week. Everybody has to excuse me. It's really loud. I haven't slept yet. As you can see, it looks like somebody punched me in both of my eyes. No sleep, 24 hours, up working. That is what we do to be about the business of this comic book community and medium. So. A couple things I wanted to talk about really quick before I hand the floor over. Go Bills, go Bills, go Bills. That's right, Dave Ferguson. Shout out to Dave Ferguson. Shout out to Peter Maresca. A couple things I wanted to talk about before I turn the floor over to Trobes and Ian Michaels, and we get into a roundtable on all the cool comic book news for this week. I wanted to talk about spec and speculating, not give spec, not actually speculating either. I wanted to talk about spec haters, or what comic book stores call flipper haters, in the unfair market. I was having a conversation with some people in the Discord earlier today, and I was talking to somebody on Instagram yesterday, and the Discord conversation was really cool. The Instagram conversation was really dumb. And it just made me think about a term we coined called the unfair market. So I get a notification that somebody mentioned ComicSense on Instagram. So I go read the notification, and they're giving us props because Grimm number 4 sold out at the distribution level. But this person wanted to shout us out and say, hey, I got my copies from this establishment called ComicSense for this really stupid price. Like, the price was so low, it was dumb. And he was like, I don't know why other people don't use them. And the person who posted the original post was like, because they're on Facebook. And he then proceeded to say that Facebook doesn't favor the seller. Mind blown. Like, oh, like I'm sitting there like, oh, you are an apologist for the unfair market. Literally, he was like, yeah, because Facebook doesn't favor the seller. That's why people are on Instagram or on whatnot, or no, not to any of these other platforms. But when I hear people say things like favor the seller. It makes me, it reaffirms why I have a problem with the unfair market, and why I have a problem with the way the unfair market discriminates against certain types of collectors. And that's all I wanted to say really quick was, man, collect what you collect for the reasons you choose to collect. If you read, and this kind of ties it into a bowl with what we were talking about in Discord, because in the Discord, we were just having kind of a chat about the different reasons why people collect and how they collect. And they asked me, how do I separate what I do for business versus my PC? And, I collect what you collect for the reasons you collect. If you're a reader, read. If you're collecting for investment, collect for investment. If you're a flipper, flip. People will tell you that one or two or any element of the groups or categories I just named are bad for the hobby or bad for the market. Listen, if people are walking into local comic shops, if they're ordering books from distributors, that only contributes to a healthy market for whatever reason. It is they call them 9/8 snobs. I'm a fan of 9/8 snobs. What I'm not a fan of is gatekeepers in the comic medium. And what I mean by gatekeepers, you got these people that say they love comics, right? But they don't want 100,000 copies of something that's killing the children in print. Mind you, there's an artist who's drawing this book who has to eat. There's a writer who's writing this book who has to eat. And in my head, it's like, wait a minute. If I love the book, I want everyone else to love the book. First and foremost, I want everyone else to love the book. I want it to be accessible and available to other people. I don't care how many copies are in print. And that's my little rant on that. These little gatekeepers who want to say, well, I got 15 copies of, what was a stupid Batman when Alfred died?
90.
No. It was
75 or something like that.
77.
77.
Batman 77, right? The book drops, and every retailer pulled all their copies off the shelf before people could walk into the store and buy the book the day it released.
Well, Punchline, same thing, right?
Yeah, and their excuse was, well, we don't want the flippers coming. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard from a retailer. I don't want a customer. Think about this. Really, really think about this and tell me I'm not wrong. Please tell me if I'm wrong. Please tell me.
No,
you're worst thing that I ever heard a business owner of a retail comic book store say was, I don't want someone who's never came into my store before to come in my store to buy this book because they're just looking to flip.
Well,
I mean,
first off, is my mic better?
It is better.
Okay.
Yes.
Because Ian sounds low to me, just so you know. But
shout out to Nick Matthews.
You sound glorious over there, my friend.
Thank you, Ian. I recently had a conversation at of all things, a party with a gentleman who runs a pretty big Garbage Pail Kid group.
Right, you told me about him.
That hopefully we'll be interviewing here, and it's the same thing in that community. There's people who I think it's almost all communities that people get mad if they
gatekeepers
if they flip books, or flip toys or whatever it is. You buy it and you flip it, but the reality is, even if we didn't spec, every Tuesday night we're flipping books. We buy them for half cover, and we're flipping them for 25% off cover.
Every retailer,
every comic shop is a flipper. Everybody who sells anything is a flipper. Ian right now is sipping on some nice bourbon. Somebody had to sell that bourbon to the shop. That shop sold it to me, and I gifted it to him because I'm an awesome guy. And now, everybody flips everything. No matter what you buy, you flip.
And it's interesting, right? Because Peter says something very interesting here, and I want to throw that up on the screen. Peter says, not wrong, but hate when one person buys all the copies, not allowing everyone to get a chance.
And I agree with that.
Get one.
That I agree with.
And I've actually been witness to that. It's very well documented that in our local area, there have been times where there is a book coming out where my LCS either got shorted copies, they didn't get their copies, so I've had to resort to going to other shops, and sometimes it's the hot book of the week, but I have showed up there, and there were actually employees from other shops there, front of the line, buying up every single copy of that hot book for the week.
So
And
listen,
it's like they just, I know that, I don't hold it against the shop for wanting to make money, but
Yeah, but I don't think there's an issue if if you know it's a hot book and you limit it to one per customer. I don't think that's an issue. Myself, I'm okay with that. If I walk into a shop and they're like, "Hey, this is hot book. You can only have one of it." That's fine. I have no problem with that.
so
And
I
you're
don't.
giving everybody a chance.
I think first of all, comic collectors are Wednesday warriors,
Mhm.
especially people who are not buying books off some social media site or off online. They're actually going into bricks and mortars. They're Wednesday warriors. Many hardcore comic collectors go from store to store to store to store, knowing that they're not going to be able to get multiple copies of a specific or given book from one store. So they got a list of stores that they're going to hit up. I used to keep a pull list at 3 different stores, a pull list at 3 different stores. That having been said, I believe it is the retailer's discretion how they choose to sell their books. I like one per customer on a hot book. But on the same token, I remember I was working in a comic shop, and I remember I would blow through books on a live stream, and the owner would say things like, "Well, let's save some books for the table." And my thought process was, why not sell out? Right? Like, why not just sell out? And I may have been, so that's not right in every situation, right? Like if your store is a store that predominantly profits off of walk-in traffic, you want books for the table, right? But if you're ordering books, Tropes, you know this. We watched a video, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. You've seen me order books for almost 2 years now. If you're ordering books, for me, it's very easy. For me, ordering books it just came very easy. But for a retail brick and mortar, there's not a precise science. You can't really order for spec. You're pretty much ordering for pull list because that's your bread and butter. And then how do you determine what you leave for the table out of all the books you have to order? Because the average retailer has to order probably at least a quantity of everything or the bulk of what's to offer on a given Diamond, Lunar, or Penguin FOC. So it's like, okay, well, how do I order for the table? How long am I going to have these books? I remember I sold through, and I don't want to talk about sales or promote anything, but I remember we sold through 100 plus Batman 108s or Batman 106s in 2 hours on a live stream. The average retailer, if they're not like these mega retail chains, they're not going to sell through 100 with 200. It's like 200.
Yeah, because I said you could have thirds.
It's going to take like 2 weeks. They're going to be putting books in long boxes. They're not even ordering that many. So how do you determine, right? If like some retailers have to really be on it to be like, okay, this book is hot. And they're not really speccing the market. Like I'm talking about chain stores, right? They're not really speccing the market like that to where they're like, yo, all right, this book is going to be the hot book because I was on Key Collector versus the fact that I have 75 Amazing Spider-Man number 99 that has 100 covers and costs $9. Like I'm gonna let you buy as many of those as you want, right? Because I'm way in the hole on that. Especially if I got a 1 in 500, you're $2,500 1 in 500. Remember Venom 35, $2,500 1 in 500. To get the 1 in 500, retailer's cost was $2,500. We're gonna bring ComicSam up in the house in just a second, but $2,500. So you're operating at a loss. You're gonna sell 500 copies of Venom number 35. Stop it. I know someone who did, but I'm just saying.
So just to piggyback off what you said earlier about, people taking exception to the fact that Facebook doesn't benefit the seller.
Really quick, hold on, Ian. Hold that thought. I want to bring ComicSam in really quick. Yo, we got ComicSam in the house. I want ComicSam to shout out to people, and then I want Ian to get right back. Oh, ComicSam is out and about. Yo, you're really loud too, Sam. Everybody is loud today.
No,
Well,
so
I'm-
Ish,
I'm loud because I don't have
I'm
any
dying.
headphones.
I'm dying.
So I'm joining
Ish,
you
we're
live
not loud,
from.
buddy, because Ian's low.
No, I'm joining you live from Disney right now.
You're in Disney?
I'm in Disney right now.
Yo.
That's how committed I am to this stream. I just
Yo.
hopped out of the pool. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna order a pizza while I'm waiting. I'm hopping on this ComicSense stream. I gotta drop some knowledge, you know.
Sam, I just want to give you a shout out and say I might have listened last
You're
week
loud too, Ian.
when you said
loud.
to buy these.
There you go, man. Making good decisions.
Oh my. So I just want to say really quick, Robert Feliciano, who says, I agree when a book is hot, limit them to a certain amount, then after a day or two, and no limit after that. Here's the issue. And this is where we get back to the unfair market. It's like, okay, we let you limit them, and that's cool. But many retailers, and I don't know what people's thoughts are. I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are. Many retailers not only want to limit them, but after a day or two, they want $15 for the book that was cover price, not cover price. Obviously, it released over cover price, but they want the market value or the unfair market value. I've seen retailers literally say, listen, I'm pulling 20 copies of this book, and next week I'm going to sell them for like 15, 20 bucks. Right, Tropes? Like, we've seen this happen. And I remember arguing, saying, like, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that you're going to hold 20 books back that you can sell now, right? Because nobody is going to wait till next week to get the book from you for $15 to $20. They're just going to go somewhere else and get the book before next week. But so generally, the slippery slope with that, Robert Feliciano, because there's two sides to that coin, is you get really good retailers who understand that the book is hot. They're usually smaller shops. They understand that the book is hot. They make it a one per customer deal. You get shady retailers who find out that the book is hot and they just pull them all. They pull them all themselves.
Or else you also have retailers that you have that specific book on your pull list, and then they will tell you that they did not come in, but then you witness them selling them at a later date.
What book are we talking about that got pulled?
No, we're just talking about the unfair market and just in general with why people collect and flippers and speckers and people who read versus comics coming out, hot books coming out the day of, and how do they deal with those because we have retailers who will just pull out their books and blame it on the flippers. So I can't get the book, the hot book, the Batman 77 the day it comes out because you pulled them all because of the flippers. Again, the worst thing that I ever heard, I want to reiterate that from a retailer, is I don't want people who never came into my store. It's the same as saying I don't want a new customer.
So I know shops that have done those practices.
Yeah, of course. We all do. We live in Western New York.
Yeah, no one's shopping there anymore. Similar with what I've heard from other folks around the country who frequent, a bunch of different comic shops that have then started pulling because they wanted to play a spec game instead of, I mean, I get it. Like there's a fine line to walk now as a retailer between, going your own spec route and trying to make as much money as you can, but you lose so many people along the way. I mean, your model's, built off of keeping people loyal, so it's just crazy.
I'm going to post Robert's comment in a second, but Tice says it's all a bit of a pickle, though. Of course, I want to spread the love of comics and I want to see artists get paid. But a huge part of this, for me at least, is trying to grab something of value maybe other people don't have or can't get. So there's not a pickle there, Tice. Shout out to Tice, too, by the way. There's no pickle there. That is the reason why you collect, and that is cool. Mm-hmm. All of this contributes to a healthy market. People who collect just to read, people who collect to invest, people who collect to flip. They're walking into stores or establishments or online or what have you, and they're buying books. All of this contributes to an artist getting paid, to a writer getting paid, to a creative team getting paid. All of this contributes. There is no bad collector. There are gatekeeper collectors who want to point. All these groups want to point the fingers at the other group. Oh, the flippers are bad. All the speckers are bad. All the people who just read. Listen, Tice, the reason why you collect matters. There's nothing wrong with why you collect. If you want to get something valuable that other people can't get, by all means, I get it. I'm the same.
Every single person who buys a book contributes. I mean, there you go.
Yeah, see, Robert Feliciano, we have a beef. We have a really big problem, and I'm glad we're saying this on YouTube. I'm not going to promote ComicSense sales. What I am going to promote is ComicSense's smoke with the unfair market. We want all of the smoke with the unfair market, which is why we do what we do. We grew up collecting comic books. All of us, well, not all of us grew up collecting comic books. I grew up collecting comic books. I'm the oldest person in this room. Trobes, I believe, has been exposed to comic books for a very, very, very long time. Ian recently, and I want to speak for people, recently started collecting comics. Sam probably grew up collecting comics. You grew up collecting comics, Sam? So I was a kid who walked into a comic shop with a $35 book, and they told me it was worth $1. I mean, I was that kid. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I wasn't stupid, but I was that kid. So, and I was a hustler, like on the street with them trees. And so I learned, and I it's a reference I have to make, but I learned that I want to give people what I want to purchase at the price I'm comfortable purchasing it for. That's just one of the reasons why we have beef with the unfair market, because the unfair market doesn't operate that way.
See, you know what I do agree with, though? I do agree with shops that limit the amount that you can get, because that protects both sides, you know?
Right.
Yep, and there's even some online honey holes that do the same thing. They limit the New Day sale books to one per customer, and even if that book stays hot, they'll put on their call or inquire if it's like 2 weeks later. And they have a great following because, and I go back to, if I'm looking for a book that we just sold out of or whatever, I'll go find on those sites because they're selling it for cover price, and away you go, and they have no problem shipping it to you. So, they get loyalty that way as well. But yeah, they limit it to one, and that's fine. That's fair, right? No big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I know shops that have a bunch of different practices, right? I know shops that are going to sell you ratio variants for cover price every time. I know shops that are gonna do the limit one per customer, right? Never mark the price up of a book day of. So then when do you think a good shop should mark the price of a book up? First of all, I don't have a problem with shops charging more for ratio variants. I've never had a problem with that because it costs a lot. It costs a lot. You're going in the hole on a rate just to get a ratio variant, and then you sell it for cover. Like you're going to stay in the hole.
So I'm actually okay the next week, to be honest with you. If you have it out there, I see no issue with if the next week, if it's a $10 book, you sell it for whatever you want. It's a week later, right? I don't have any issue with that at all.
See, I don't even mind. It rolls around to Saturday. The book's been on the shelves for 3 days now. Saturday hits. You have your shoppers that have come in, because let's face it, on the weekend is when people start going out, and that's when they start hitting the shops outside of their regular shop, outside of their LCS. So I mean, I have no problem if it's 2 or 3 days later, if they're marking it up for the weekend, because I mean, they need to make money too.
In all honesty, I wouldn't frequent the establishment, but run your shop the way you want to run your shop, right?
Exactly.
If you want to run your shop the day of the book's a $10 book on the market, charge $10 for it. That's I don't have an issue with it. I just won't frequent you. But that I'm just I'm one person. There's some that think like me and some that don't. Some people are like, you know what? At least I know I can go and get that book, because they're probably going to have it more, and it's going to have people shy away from it. So that helps some people. So I mean, run your shop the way you want to run your shop, and I'll spend my money the way I want to spend my money, right? If it works for you, it'll work for you. So honestly, yeah, basically that, just run it the way you want to run it. But yeah, I would like to see the next week. I think is more than fair. But
Yeah.
So I like what Ty says. I like what Ian says. I like what everyone says. Me personally, the next week person. I think is a nice cushion and is fair. However, I don't have a problem. You're not gonna make me leave. I was a Wednesday warrior. So if I know that you're gonna mark the book up the next day, but not Wednesday, that's not gonna make me not come to your shop anymore. Because I'll be there on Wednesday.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying? Just as long as you're not marking it up for everyone who has it on their pull list.
right, yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
not cool.
You know what I mean?
And
That
I
I
mean,
don't think's cool.
that's where I feel it's very, very important to have an LCS that you truly support. You know, and when you make friends, like honestly,
Support
the
local.
one of the best things that you could do is support your LCS. Like
Hello.
even if they're overcharging for a book, pay the price. Like that gets you. You know, I got a whole row of Grimm
Nah,
one-per
bruh.
stores
Yeah,
behind me.
I was gonna let you
Nah,
finish.
I
bruh.
got a whole row of Grimm one-per stores behind me.
Nah, bruh. I'm not gonna overpay.
No, but I'm just saying. But
I do not agree with that.
Right? Like, nah,
but
bruh.
I think you guys know how I am about money, okay? I'd I'd rather put, you know, I'd rather pay the extra to get something that's worth it. And you know, honestly, like I said, make friends with your LCS. Like get so that way when a hot book comes out, you could send them a message and say, "Hey, this wasn't on my pull list, but can you put a copy aside for me?" Because that's when they start to do that for you. You know,
So
there
you
is
should have a relationship with your comic book dealer. I use the word dealer for a reason. Like,
yeah,
listen, we all come up in this comic book medium. How many people have established relationships with a given dealer or another? It's the thing in this medium. Have a relationship with a dealer, support local, do not overpay. Do not by any means overpay
Well,
for books.
hang on. I'm gonna argue with one little point on that. I'll overpay if it's not a gross overpayment. So it depends
exactly.
on if it's a $10 book and the shop has it for $12 and it's in front of me. I'm
Yeah,
gonna pay
you
the
got to
$12.
buy the book that's in front of you versus,
So like
and you need the book.
right. So for instance,
It's a good point.
God Emperor Doom. I just
I
bought it. I just bought
Oh,
that book,
someone is so loud.
and it was basically I think $5 over market, and I just bought it because it was in front of me. I was traveling. I haven't seen it, in the wild.
You paid shipping.
Basically, right?
Yo, remember the guy who wanted you to pay the shipping cost? Tell that story, bro. Tell the story, man.
So I won't say the shop. The shop's not in business anymore, but
Of course they're not.
the
Making you pay the shipping costs on a book in hand, bro.
so
Like what?
basically, I walked into a shop. He had a book I needed. It wasn't some crazy book. It was just an ASM I needed for my run. It was like a $10 book or whatever. And I go up to the counter. I pull it off the shelf. It wasn't even priced. And I pull it off and go to buy it. And the guy goes, he does his little thing, looks it up, and he's like, I don't know, 15, 16 bucks. I'm like 16 bucks. I'm like, maybe I got the wrong book. Hang on. I go, because I know that book's like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 bucks on eBay all day long. I go, well, can you give it to me for 10? And he goes, well, no, I did look it up on eBay. And he turns his screen and he shows me, it's like $10 on eBay. I go, okay, so then why 16? He goes, well, because shipping is 5, $6. So you'd have to pay shipping if you bought it there. I said, oh, okay, no problem. So let me give you my address so you can ship it to me. And he's like, what? I go, well, yeah, I'll give you my address and you just ship it to me. That actually saves me a lot of trouble. So thank you very much. And he's like, well, no, I'm not going to ship it to you.
Why am I paying shipping?
I go, you just showed me the price was, $10 plus $6 shipping. I'm not from here. You're helping me out. Ship it back to my house. And he wouldn't do it. I'm like, so then why are you even bringing up shipping?
But retailers will do that. Not in-store retailers. You'll find online retailers that will price their books using their eBay fingers and be like, well, it's $45 in shipping on eBay, so we're gonna go 42. I've seen that. I watch I've started to watch some other online streams. There's some really good ones, and then there's some really like, wow, that's weird. I'll see people sell like a Momoko cover that came out 2 weeks ago for like $15, and it's like, and people buy it, and it's like, yo, it's still a cover price book. It's like Champions #8. You know, when Momoko did all those covers that one month where they're like headshots.
So Robert and Wilton both make
Love Champions.
Yeah, Robert and Wilton both make a good comment about shipping, and
Robert's saying that our shipping cost is too high.
Not ours. He said the shipping isn't cheap. but
shout out to Robert Feliciano.
And Wilton's even saying the same thing. Shipping is the biggest killer, and
it honestly, is. It's very tough.
It's very tough.
Trobes has a headache.
It's a very bad headache, and again, I don't want to talk about sales on this one. I know we're kind of going down the rabbit hole here, but we've had people, kind of contact us saying, "Hey, is it really this much to ship the book?" And we're, full transparency, right? And so I'll break it down. Hey, a bag and board is 16 cents, and the Gemini mailer, it's costing us 77 cents. And USPS is, I forget what they charge now. They just raised their prices again for shipping one Gemini, and then PayPal is 5%. They're taking off the top of it, and literally it's like right on that. We try to keep it right on what it actually costs to ship the books.
So we can kind of pull the veil back. I don't want to do promotions of ComicSense, but we can pull we can pull the veil back because we are talking about retail and different types of retail in this industry, and we can speak from an online retail perspective. Listen, from an online retail perspective, we go through at least 5,000 bags and boards a month. Mm-hmm. A month. Easy. Yeah. Like easy. Think about it. Last week we had a couple hundred copies of Grimm, 100 copies of Wind. But what I'm saying is like in 3 weeks we'll have 1,000 copies of Grimm #5. Yeah. A couple hundred copies of Vanish #1. That's 1,200 bags and boards on 2 books. So it's like, we go through just shipping and then Geminis.
We do an easy 90 Geminis a week.
Right. Easy. Right. Right.
So easy. So I mean, so shipping is, and that's the bad thing. Like Peter said, he showed the box that he got.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. It was just totally destroyed by by USPS, and I think for the most part, I mean, our local USPS is awesome. They, when we have a truckload of books, or I should say packages, they actually just have us come in the back, and they help me unload it and all that stuff. So it's really good. But yeah, shipping is by far the hardest thing to figure out the price on and keep fair and equitable. That's the real hard part with shipping. But there's no easy way around it.
That and people in that live in those big huge castles in Grand Island, usually the post office takes better care of your packages as opposed to the lowly old folks living in the city of Buffalo.
As well as should.
So when Ish comes back, I truly want him on here for this, but I want to go back and I want to talk about like people taking exception to the fact of with Facebook and not benefiting the sellers. So I'm just going to say right out front, I don't buy through other means. There are a couple Facebook streams that I am very loyal to. One of the ones we support, I build a box through them every single week. I'm buying at least one book. It's going in that box, and eventually, I'll have them ship it off to me. There's other shops that, they have consistent, 40, 50 viewers a week. And those are the people I will buy from. I don't want anything to do with Whatnot. I don't want to have to bid against other people and overpay for a book to pay for a ridiculous amount of shipping. You know, and there's nothing against Whatnot, and don't think that I'm trying to say it that way. It's just not something where I'm big into the idea of it.
I think, however, you can
get
your shop going.
the best deals on some crazy stuff right now on Whatnot because the viewership is down,
Shout out to Whatnot.
right? The seller market or the seller population seems to be pretty saturated. And, they've gone and said, like, there's a good ratio, but right now they're not showing up. They're only showing up for these exclusives. And when people go to cons, I stopped selling on Whatnot for a bit because books that should be $50, $60, like, not just like $10 books here, that go for $1, but $50, $60 books going for $1. So, to counterpoint that, that's why I buy on Whatnot. Like, it's just smart. You should be buying from everywhere you can get a great deal. It doesn't matter if it's your LCS, it doesn't matter if it's a Facebook stream, a Whatnot stream, wherever you can get the best deal on keys or investments or whatever you collect. That's what you should be doing.
And I agree with that. In a for the buyer market, but in for the seller's market, like you said, Whatnot is kind of down. But when people, to touch on what Ian said, when people talk about Facebook, not favoring the seller,
I have no issue with it.
Forget our personal achievements, or how if you will, however you want to call it, on Facebook. When you take Facebook, hundreds of thousands of people are aging up to Facebook every year. Millions of people all over the world are on Facebook. Some of these other platforms are, as I said earlier in the Discord, are small ponds with a lot of fish in them, all trying to eat. We're not talking fishing in the pond.
You can say the same thing about
they're
Facebook,
trying to eat.
though.
Facebook, no.
Facebook is rough, dude. Comic book group is a plethora of garbage being chilled on there. If you put a post on there, it's going to get lost in the mix of a million sales posts.
Right.
A disorganized mess.
And you mentioned them, so I got to say, big thumbs down to them, by the way, because they did plagiarize. Listen, it is what it is. You plagiarized me. Thumbs down to you. If you're watching this, you know you did it. I mean, we water under the bridge, but you did it. So that's what it is. Yo, because the dude came at me for plagiarizing me. Like, he came at me like I'm not supposed to be feeling some type of way. Like, you just took my words verbatim. Graphic.
I got him going. I'm gonna hop back in the pool, guys. No.
My graphic verbatim, and then posted it as a public announcement from your group, which has like 33,000 members. And I'm like, yo, bro, then they invited me to the group. I get in the group and I'm reading the graphic. I'm like, wait a minute. This is word for word. Like, y'all use my sayings. Like, all of that. The way I say to y'all, I mean, they ain't changed, not a period.
So you kind of
hang
took
on,
exception.
Ian, just one quick second. Ish, I think we need to turn up our mics because people are saying that we're too low. All three of us. So I think we need to turn them up. If you want to take like one ear out.
I hear y'all really loud.
Yeah, but everybody else, there's a lot of people saying that we're real low. And Ian is real low on my.
Sam Murdoch said more on the plagiarize.
So, and let me fix this, and then we'll go back to where my thumbs down goes. But
so Sam, back in December, I made a post on ComicSense talking about the unfair market and how they place value on newsstand copies and how they take books.
Oh, I remember.
I
remember that very clearly, and the graphic and everything that was lifted.
Yeah. How they take books from the 70s and they'll overcharge you for a newsstand copy when in like late 70s, everything was newsstand. Everything. And they still do it. Like the market still does this. The market will be like, oh, you'll have an Uncanny X-Men 129 and be like, oh, and this is a newsstand copy. Like, come on. There were more newsstand copies of comics in 1980 than there were comic shops. The only newsstand comics that matter are post 1985 through 1990. Those are the ones that matter. Anything before 85, that's what it was. They were predominantly newsstands. Predominantly, like 90% of comics before 1985 were newsstands. Nobody was going to. How many local comic shops existed in the early 80s versus 5 and Dimes and D&K stores, and that you could just get a comic off the rack that was a newsstand. So this is still a big, so I posted on it, and I wrote a post on it, coming at the unfair market for trying to sell people newsstands at a premium rate. Like they're not rarer. If anything, at that time, the direct edition was rarer. They're just not. And so I came at the unfair market in this post, and by January, I get invited to that group we mentioned earlier, and I'm in the group, and I'm looking at, they have like a major public service announcement, they call it, brought to you by them. And it was work. Like, they didn't even change the word. I'm like, yo, you could have just like gave me credit or something. They ain't changed the graphic, not nothing.
But was it one of those ones where like they hopped in your group, they stole it, and then hopped back out of the group? Like,
no, that's why I didn't post it in the group, because he's the guy who runs it is actually still a member of ComicSense. So I didn't post him. I didn't out him. I posted on.
He knows now.
Well, no, I didn't out him though. I didn't post it on. I posted on my personal page, but I blotted out his name. But we talked behind closed doors, and he came at me. And I'm like, listen, bro, you're a big group. I'm not. I could just like make it a public thing. I'm not. Y'all gonna do something about it? He's like, well, the moderator must have, but it's your name on the post. Yeah, one of our moderators said, and then he tried to tell me, he's like, well, you didn't say anything that anyone else hasn't said. Okay. But nobody else used my exact words to the letter with the P's, with the T's and the commas, and like it was exactly what you just copied and pasted.
So you're saying it's kind of like certain influencers coming directly at me.
I mean, so enough on the plagiarism. Enough on the plagiarism.
Bob gave some good info.
You're right, Ish. You're right.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
In the late 70s and early 80s.
I'm here for you.
And Bob knows. Bob's been around.
So one thing that has come to light recently with newsstands, and we knew this.
Shout out to Bob Voros. Old school OG. Bob Voros is an OG in the comic community. Like for real, for real. Yep. Shout out to Bob Voros.
Shout out to Bob.
There's been a lot of folks out there, especially with how well She-Hulk 1 did, right? In terms of reviews. Looking at Sensational She-Hulk or whatever, She-Hulk 1, right?
Right.
And seeing that there's not many direct copies out there.
Right. I have a newsstand. Ton of newsstands.
So it's starting to bring that conversation to the forefront. And so it's going to be interesting to see if it starts anything or if it pushes the conversation forward.
It always bothers me when I'm watching a stream or I'm in a comic store and I go to grab, because you know how I try to curate my Uncanny X-Men run, and I go to grab a bronze copper Uncanny, and they're like, oh yeah, and that's a newsstand. And I'm like, so you mean you're going to charge me less than you would if it was a direct or a price variant? Because the difference on Uncanny X-Men newsstands, the price was in the diamond versus the price being in a square. That's how you could tell, because they, especially when they both started looking like directs. She-Hulk is too woke and too feminist.
Dude, I love that show. I love that show. I don't care what anyone says. I
didn't love it. I liked it. I didn't think it was. So I saw a lot of people complaining about the feminist, whatever.
But who cares?
My thing was,
people care.
I didn't think it was as bad as people said, and I didn't think it was as good as people said. I thought it was good. It was fun. I like when when because she broke the fourth wall in the comic. I liked how I enjoyed that. I did, some of it was a little cheesy. That courtroom fight scene when all of a sudden the guy is crouching tigering She-Hulk. I thought that was kind of stupid. But I thought it was okay. I didn't hate it.
He just disappears.
He does. Sam, by the way, I know this is off topic, but feel free to bring me back a fun shirt from the Star Wars area. Extra large.
I'll make sure to bring Ian back one.
Yes, bring him back too.
Hey,
that'll work out.
I could always use a dusting cloth for my vehicle. Just saying.
I purchased they have this little mini bust statue of Darth Bane, so to bring it back to the comic talk. Obviously, that cover is going to be sick, but that was really the only thing I personally got in this trip, which is shocking. I didn't come home with a lightsaber.
Yeah, Peter. I
what's
agree,
that static?
Episode 2 was better than episode 1. I agree.
Episode 2 was really good. Episode 1 was just good. We talked about episode 1 last week. We talked about some of the flaws in episode 1, how the CGI looked kind of wonky. We talked about the good things too. The actual acting, the actual chemistry between the actors was really, really on point. Titania was used poorly.
Yes.
Episode 2, I mean, come on, man. Emil Blonsky, they stepped it up a notch with the acting. How about the possible World War Planet Hawk World War Hawk Easter egg that we got in that film? Possibly setting up. I don't know how they're going to do a world. I don't know. I mean, we kind of got part of that story in Guardians of the Galaxy, or excuse me, Thor, right?
Thor.
Was it Thor? Yeah, Thor. We kind of got part of that story, but we'll see. Supposedly Scar is supposed to appear in the series, so he'd have to end up on whatever that planet is, whatever the planet was on.
So the funny thing that came about this is my wife and I were having this conversation after we watched the show, and I'm just like, can you imagine like this whole Steve Rogers Virgin thing? Like, he's sitting around, he's hanging out with Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, and they're talking about all these women that they've been with over the years, and then you got Steve Rogers, being the nerdy type and being like, yeah, I had sex with a girl once, and coming across like trying to fit in, and I don't know.
So that's a good point Peter makes, and Sam also speaks onto the 7 friends, the 7 soulmates. More than likely an allusion to the Thunderbolts. The rumors are that Emil Blonsky will be a Thunderbolt, along with Titania, U.S. Agent, White Widow, Ghost. I like that they're bringing Ghost back, though. I thought Ghost was an underutilized character in Ant-Man. I'm so glad that they're bringing that character back. That's really cool. Taskmaster. So that's cool. That's cool. I think one person. Well, I'm not going to touch on that. Sam. Yes, we believe the Speckers believe that is a reference to the Thunderbolts. So there's that. Speaking of which, the Thunderbolts drops this week. Can't wait for that comic book to come out. I'm very excited to read that book.
His 7 soulmates. It made me crack up laughing.
His 7 soulmates. I love his spiel though, where he like breaks it down. Like, man, I was the good guy.
Yeah.
The Hulk was the bad guy, which in reality, in comic reality, like the Hulk was the bad guy. Like we're not like the Hulk was the bad guy.
And by the way, I expect a poem from both you and Rich, from what transpired this past Tuesday.
A poem.
Yeah, to make good.
You're gonna pass on that. We're gonna pass on that. I'm gonna pass on waxing poetic. So yeah, Peter Maresca says not crazy about the Winter Soldier allegedly being on the team. I mean, he was one of the first people to get that like 11 movie contract or 11 appearance contract. So they really got to start getting their money's worth out of Sebastian Stan. I'm interested in the dynamic between him and Zemo. I don't like the idea of Zemo being a relatable and likable character at all. Like at all. I just don't think that that's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Personally, but I get it. It's Disney. It's Disney, so they gotta Disneyfy Zemo. But I don't think Zemo should be. It's like taking Hate Monger, right? I don't know if you guys know the character Hate Monger from Marvel Comics. Like he's just a straight racist. Like that's what he is. Like that's what he's supposed to be. He's not supposed to be sympathetic. He's not supposed to be somebody that you relate to. I mean, unless you relate to that sort of thing, then by all means. I mean, we have all kind of people who live in the world. You know what I mean? You know, shout out to, I guess what it is. I ain't gonna say shout out, but you know, all kind of people live in the world. They got to consume stuff too. So, I mean, representation, right? Let's get some.
You're so stupid.
Zemo is representation. A lot of Baron Zemo in race and nonstop Spider-Man. Zemo has to be in the vein of Red Skull. Yeah, that was one of the things for me that was very definitive about that great Captain America franchise. Is like, you knew the face of hate, it had a red skull. Mm-hmm. You knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is the villain. There's no blurred lines, so to speak. That's what it is. Red Skull. This Baron Zemo guy, like in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, he was just like so cool. I'm like, come on, man. I don't want cool Baron Zemo. I want Baron Zemo that I want to hate. Like, give me a real emotion. I want to hate you. I don't want to like you. I like you, especially when you're dancing and you're cha-cha-cha. Like, come on, man.
That's like the archetype for successful Marvel villains, though. Like, you love to hate them, and then you learn to love them.
No. I don't want to love to hate him. I want to hate him. Like, I believe that there are villains that are supposed to be villains. That not only there are those that you love to hate, but then you have your Joaquin Phoenix and Gladiator, who you just hate. Like, you don't love to hate him. You want Maximoff not to die. Like, you want him to like
call him Joaquin Phoenix.
I couldn't wait for him to die.
That's his name.
It's Joaquin.
Okay, whatever. You want him to die. You feel me, Trobe? Like, you don't want to like him.
I still to this day I have a hard time. I like that whole genre of stuff.
Yeah, me too.
And I have a hard time watching
I was mad.
one fight scene because I'm like, this guy shouldn't be dying right now.
I was mad, bro.
Like, he shouldn't be dying. Like, dude, your brother. I get it, but you're gonna die, and I hate it. I'm not happy about it. And then, but at the same time,
I remember my man got up and threw the remote.
He hated his brother even more.
My homie got up and threw the remote when Maximoff died, because it's like, yo, they really get it right with that, and it's because you really hate the villain. Yep. You don't kind of think he's cool. You want to punch him in his face. You want to punch that little scar off the bottom of his lip, like, you for real. Like, I'm just saying. Yeah. Shout out to Joaquin Phoenix.
There you go, Ian.
Absolutely, Corey. That means the movie did its job well. That's what I want from a Baron Zemo when you put Baron Zemo in a comic book. It's my problem with Sabretooth as a character, because I love the X-Men. I love Sabretooth. I'm glad so in the 90s, they did this experiment where all of these popular villains, they decided to make them anti-heroes and then heroes. The three that got the trial run were Deadpool, Venom, Sabretooth. Obviously, Deadpool and Venom made they crossed over to the hero side, complete hero. Sabretooth, nah, bruh. Nah, bruh. And I hate that I think he's so cool, because Sabretooth is like a straight killer, period, point blank. No ifs, ands, or buts, he's going to kill you. And kill you in really bad ways. You're not supposed to like him. I'm glad we're not getting ready for Sabretooth Part 3 just being bought from Fox. Because, man, I think there are characters that should stay villains. Deadpool was one of them. Venom was another one.
I was okay with the switch of Deadpool. I always liked Deadpool. The only time I got mad is when Deadpool became cool. And that got me mad, because I was like,
because you were gatekeeping.
What's that?
You were gatekeeping.
Yeah, I was, and I'll say it. I 100%. I was like, all of a sudden I see people walking around Deadpool. I'm like, where were all you? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, you were. Yeah, I mean, but we gatekeep, right? Like, I'm gonna be mad when everyone's talking about how dope Monstrous is. I'm not gonna be mad. I'm gonna be happy because I want you to buy the book. Because I'm gonna want you to buy the book because I'm gonna want Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda to really eat. For sure. I want them to be successful, but I know I'm gonna be like, man, I was screaming Monstrous before everybody else.
Yeah, Sam, you're right. Now comics are cool.
Yes, that's the thing. Comics are cool now. Like, wow, right? Can we gatekeep? Can the nerds of the world? Although I do think that is a stereotype because I don't think nerds just read comics, but can the nerds of the world gatekeep? Do we have the right when we walk down the street and we see your grandmother wearing a Captain America hoodie? Do we have the right to be like, yo, why did you give up Heckle and Jekyll? Like, we ain't come take Heckle and Jekyll from you or Dixie and Pixie.
I think you meant Jekyll and Hyde.
No, I meant Heckle and Jekyll. The magpies, the cartoon birds from way back in the day.
I got that reference, Ish. Don't worry, I got you.
I forget you guys are you guys are Disney kids.
Heckle and Jekyll was not Disney.
Peter, is he really good though? Is Loki really good?
I mean,
he's not bad.
He was acting. I wanted to tell Loki, man, push them tears back up in your eyes, bro. Like, what's happening here, bro? What is all this sympathy for? Like, really? Do you know who you are? I was feeling some type of way about that version of Loki. I'm just keeping it real.
I think that's part of the problem and the greatness with Marvel is that their villains are so likable to the point where they can take on their own comics, they can take on their own properties and be really, really successful. While, when you look at others, there's not many besides maybe Joker who's at that level.
But Joker shouldn't be likable.
Well, he's not likable.
People love Joker.
People love Joker, yeah.
They didn't turn Harley into a hero.
Yeah, that. I don't know, but at the same time, though, if you read like the real dark Joker stuff, there's no way you can like him.
If you
well,
read,
yeah,
if you
there you go.
Bob,
that's the reason. There's
you,
3 Jokers. One of them's bound to be likable. Right?
This what we doing in 3 Jokers. This what we doing. Can we forget about the 3 Jokers?
I'll bring continuity up into it for you.
So if you like Joker from The Killing Joke,
then you're messed up. You're messed up.
You're messed up. If you like that Joker, you're messed up.
Yeah.
Yo, Peter is right. Peter is right. Can we get a real villain? The only real villain we really got, and I could be wrong, and maybe refresh my memory. The only real villain we got in the MCU is the only undefeated villain in the MCU. His name is Dormammu. And that's the only real villain we've gotten. And consequently, he's the only undefeated villain.
So, I mean, I know you're an X-Men guy and you absolutely love Magneto. Yeah, no love for that guy.
What?
What?
I think he's straight up a bad guy.
Huh?
I have
I'm
no
just
love
letting
for
Ian
the
talk
guy.
and sink his own ship. This will be good.
Yo, Ian, you do this every week. Like, you're every week, every time. I don't. Marshall Falk is not a feature back. I have no love for Magneto. Like, just
hold on. When was the Marshall Falk comment? I missed that.
Sam.
That is that's awful.
Sam, let's not go down and wait till you come back.
Wait, Sam, wait till you come back. It was bad. Marshall Falk is not a feature back. Came out of Ian's mouth right before we went live on Tuesday, and it was like, how do we not talk about this? Like 5 minutes before we went live, he says Alvin Kamara is not a receiving back, and Marshall Falk is not
No,
a feat.
I completely trolled you on
Dear
that.
God, I want to play fantasy with Ian.
So, surprisingly, I'm really, really good at it, but
It's because you play with people who still use crayons to write out their fantasy numbers.
But to get back to Peter's point, though, I was also, because Thanos is, I'm not a big villain fan. There's a few villains I really like, but Thanos is one of them. And you're right, man. That killing half the population of everything was heroic. I was like, come on, like you're killing me here.
This is
mean, you know,
this is true.
There's a mug that says Thanos was right, you know?
Donnie Cates says Thanos wins, but this is true.
Wins.
Corey James says, to be fair, Thanos skirted being an anti-hero. Starlin's Thanos. And, we're talking about having true villains. And he's right. I know one of the greatest moments to me, one of the most profound moments in the history of comics is when Captain Marvel died and Thanos showed up to pay his respects. It was just such a great moment, especially as a kid. It's like, whoa, this is your greatest enemy. Period, point blank. And Thanos shows up with reverence to pay this man respect. And it's also the one hero in Marvel that is never coming back. Marvel's going to do it. One day, we're going to get Captain Marvel resurrected one day. He's going to go through the Krakoan Gate, and the X-Men, the 5 are going to resurrect Captain Marvel, and we're going to get Captain Marvel back. Listen, that's going to be one of the biggest books of the century when Captain Marvel finally gets resurrected. And people are going to be, it's going to be like, you guys remember Civil War? Ian, you might be too young, but Civil War came out in the early 2000s. And literally, this is the early days of the internet too. There were message boards. When they asked whose side you were on, yo, people was pissed. People was really pissed over. I know a lot of people didn't like the Civil War series after, what it was put out, but the feeling that it gave people, it divided the comic community. People were they were going to fight. They were going to fight over whose side they were on, Team Cap or Team Iron Man. They were going to fight. I wanted to fight, not from a political perspective, but those images where Captain America is just getting pummeled by Iron Man in the suit, really pissed me off. I still don't like Tony Stark. I was so glad Thor did him dirty. Did him dirty for what he did to Cap.
When they rebooted Thor, crud, I can't remember who wrote it. And it was issue 1 or 2, and he just straight crap. He just beat him. And, basically said, and, it's because he cloned him. You know what I mean? And
he was like, next time I'm coming for you for what you did for Cap.
he no joke, just whooped him. That was
great. Stand with Cap, party with Stark. I want to put up what Peter just said because love it. Peter said Green Goblin and Doc Ock be good guys for a minute. Come on, man. So I got to say something. A couple weeks ago, I did a whole rant about how Marvel gives the middle finger to Amazing Spider-Man fans. And I did. I read Amazing Spider-Man #8. Green Goblin is a true good guy right now. But man, Amazing Spider-Man #8 was a good book. So I do want to give props to that because I didn't think that there were good Spider-Man books anymore. But Amazing Spider-Man #8 was a nice little well-written yarn where, Vulture just pretty much almost kills Peter. He's got to run to get that Oscorp outfit. And Norman's line. Who's writing this thing? Dan Slott? Who's writing it? Because Norman Osborn's line to Peter was so good. Peter's like, I was calling you. I needed the outfit. I was calling you for the outfit. And you Zeb Wells. And Norman couldn't bring him the outfit. So he just crushes the cell phone pissed. And you're thinking, okay, Norman wants Peter to die because Peter's gonna die. And he finally makes it to the Oscorp building to get the outfit. And he beats Vulture and he says to Norman, he's like, why didn't you come to help me? Did you want me to die? And Norman was like, why didn't you send me the suit? And Norman was like, if you want the truth, I wanted to put that suit on more than anything and come and save you. But I can't be the Goblin again. Like it was just the way he said it. He was like, nah, Peter, I wanted to put that joint on, jump on that glider and come do it myself. It was dope. It was really well written, like really well written. I really enjoyed that particular issue of Spider-Man. Sorry for spoilers, but man, it dropped Tuesday, so that's what it is.
It dropped Tuesday because he even said maybe in some ways atone for what I've done to you and those you love.
Yeah, like it's a really well written issue. I was really impressed. So yes, I want to give props to Amazing Spider-Man because I certainly took a bit of time to go in on how they screw y'all. They gave you a really good issue of Amazing Spider-Man for $3.99. Trobes is reading it now.
I don't know. I'm not up to speed on Amazing yet.
Issue 8 was good.
Okay. I'm excited to read it then. I'm logging off though, guys. I'll see ya.
Hey, have fun, bud.
Peace out, ComicSam. And on that note, I need everyone to like and follow ComicSense on Facebook and join our ComicSense Facebook group. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us at ComicSense on Instagram and find us on the Twitter.
So, I got a topic for us. So, Ish, you've been screaming about certain characters from a certain region buying books. We now know that there's a Tiger Division book coming out.
Right.
So, if you guys listened and bought up those books, you're in a good spot. If not, you're going to overpay.
Black Cat Annual, first and second print. Arrows, number ones. That first appearance of White Tiger, I can't remember where she first appears. Because White Tiger is going to be on that thing. Taskmaster number 3. You probably can't go get the 1 in 25, but you can certainly get the A cover, and you certainly can get the second print, first cover appearance of Taiguchi. That is his first cover appearance. That second print is like cover price. Mm-hmm. There's a 1 in 25 of that though, right? No, yeah, there is a 1 in 25 of the second print. Yep. But the 1 in 25 of the first print is out of reach. But the one to have is going to be the second print and the 1 in 25 of the second print, the cover appearances of Taiguchi. So yeah, those are Taiguchi's going to be the foundation of that Tiger Force team. He's going to be the Captain America, so to speak. The team will be built around him. So yeah, then that Tiger Force team. I mean, again, New Agents of Atlas potential. When we talk about spec potential for that book, it does not matter how well it does in the American market. Demon Days is one of the most successful books coming out of Marvel, and it is not selling out in the States.
Right.
It's not selling out in the States. One of the most successful books coming out of Marvel. New Agents of Atlas, like, listen, they are marketing to the Asian community. They should be marketing to the Asian community. They buy books. If you are speccing, money is money. It all circulates. It all circulates. You know what I mean?
And a lot of these books were really, really affordable.
And still are.
The second prints of Black Cat Annual number 1, they were sitting at cover price.
Yep, they're like $12 now. They're like $12 books now.
I think a couple weeks ago I bought one for $1. It was sitting in a box.
Crazy.
Yeah. Good books. I'm glad you brought up that Tiger Force book dropping. There's a couple books dropping. Midnight Suns is coming up, new characters. Thunderbolts, 2 new characters.
That Ghost Rider 29, or is it 28 or 29?
It's 28. Midnight Suns and 31.
You've been saying buy up those books.
Yeah, buy affordable spec, cheap spec. I'm glad you threw that out there because I didn't have any spec today. Because I just didn't have any spec today because I didn't sleep for 24 hours. So I figured somebody in the stream would. So that's really cool that you brought up Tiger Force because there's a lot of books you can grab on Tiger Force. Those Arrows are still cover price books.
How many times have I come back with stacks of Arrow?
Crescent and EO.
Sam, when he was going through the boxes because none of it's organized, he was just like, "How many of these sneaking things do you have?" He kept just pulling out arrows, arrow 1, 2s, 3s, 1, 2, 3s.
How many Arana number ones did we grab? Tons.
I grabbed stacks
of Arana number one, and
yeah.
And if you can get them, still go get them, because Arana is really going to matter going into 2023. Yep. Really, really going to matter going into 2023. So if you can grab Arana's,
you can still find amazing for decent prices.
Yeah, you can't find that Amazing Fantasy first appearance of Arana for a decent price though. But you can certainly find her first solo. Her first solo is going to matter. She kind of matters still in the pages of what Black Widow's done, but she was in the pages of the most recent Black Widow for a time. Now she's in Edge of Spider-Verse again. So yeah, that
125, like I said, I know it's not,
it was gorgeous though.
Expensive book. That was I thought, what did I say? That was the prettiest book I've seen.
Like, yeah, it was really, really pretty.
I loved it.
Really, 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 really pretty 1 in 25. I wish that particular, none of the ratios were keys for number one, for Edge of Spider-Verse number one. The book is a key, but none of the ratios were keys. The only key was the A cover. That was the only key was the A cover. So, and then the second print of number one is also going to be a big key book, because you're getting a first appearance on a character that appeared in the book but didn't appear in any of the covers. So that he's going to be prominently on that cover. I can't think of his name right now, but so that number one second print is also going to be a really, really good book. Hopefully a good book, because there's so many spider characters. There's so many spider characters.
There are so many, and they're still coming out with more.
Right. And which ones are the ones that hit? Which ones are the ones that, okay, Jason, hit us up. Which ones are Spider Laird? Peter Maresca. Yes, it is going to be the first cover appearance of Spider Laird. And yeah, Peter Maresca also, Ghost Rider 33 in the next run has a bunch of new Ghost Riders. Spider Laird is going to make his first cover appearance on the second print of Edge of Spider-Verse number one. So that's really cool. I'm going to let you guys talk really quick. I'm going to pull up that cover.
It's right here. Are you talking about the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, Edge of Spider-Verse number one.
Put it in the chat. I'm sorry. I put the 1 in 25 in the chat.
No, I'm going to share. I'm going to put up the.
Man, look at how fire you are.
How what?
Wearing that fancy shirt today, and then just straight up being fire, being on top of things.
I mean, I am fire.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about tropes.
Yeah, but go back to the comments were.
And I'm going to share the cover really quick.
So what's funny is my wife is downstairs.
So there it is. And let me blow up Spider Laird really quick so people can really see. Oh, you're not going to let me blow it up, huh? All right, well, that's as big as we're going to get, but here's what I'll do really quickly. So there you have your Spider Laird right here. Right here in the background. That is your Spider Laird first full cover appearance. He also appears in that book. So yeah, that's Edge of Spider-Verse number one, second print. There's that. I am going to stop the share and we're going to get back to it. So Spider Laird, shout out to Peter for dropping the name on that one. Shout out to everyone that is in the room. Appreciate everyone coming and hanging out with us. We just kind of covered a bunch of things. It was, again, organic. As long as you guys are in the room and we're talking and you're joining in the conversation and throwing stuff at us, we're just going to catch the ball like Stephon Diggs of the Buffalo Bills, and we're going to run with it. A feature wide receiver. We're going to run with that. So, listen, I don't think we have to drag it out or beat our head over topics. I think we kind of put on a decent little deal for tonight. We can all get out of here, go watch SmackDown, finish a Bills game, whatever the case may be.
If you want to show it real quick, I think I got you a better picture of the second print in the chat.
Share it. Share it.
I don't know how to do that.
Go down to share.
Share screen.
Click share.
Yep.
And then click share screen. And then it's going to open up a tab. You're gonna have to click share screen again. And then it'll be a tab. Go to Chrome, go to whatever it says. It'll say entire screen, window, or tab. Go to the tab and then pick the screen you want to share from the tab. Don't have any porn pop up.
Stupid. I don't know if anybody can see it.
Well, you got to share it. I'll put it in. I see it. And I'll add it to the stream. And there it is. Hold on. Let me side. No, leave it. So yeah, there it is again. And now you know how to share.
Yeah, cool.
Right. And I'm going to remove that, and you can unshare it. All right. So yeah, that was the spider layered cover. That's that. I think we've done enough for tonight. We're going to be up out of here. I want to encourage everyone. Hold on. Ty says not to backpedal too hard, but I'm stuck on aspect you brought up about gatekeeping. What aspect on gatekeeping? Because I covered a couple things on gatekeeping. So I believe there are several collectors types, prototypes in the comic medium. People who collect to read, people who collect for investment, speckers, flippers. And I believe that they gatekeep in many cases against each other. Not all of them, but representatives of each prototype gatekeeps against the other prototype. People who just read are going to tell you, yeah, I only read. I know, because we have a close friend who's like, oh, I only buy comic books to read. Investing is stupid. And people who want to invest in comics are just like, dude, it's cool that you buy comics to read. I buy comics to read. But there's nothing wrong with someone who doesn't read comics at all and buys them because they're investing, or because they're speculating, or because they're flipping. All of these things contribute equally to the market. None of them are make a negative impact on the market, because you hear people, oh, the speckers hurt the comic market. Well, aren't you self-righteous and a gatekeeper? How does it hurt you? Oh, because now there's 1,000 copies of a book that I want to have in my collection and I want it to be worth money. Oh, so you're a specker. Like, which one are you? You understand what I'm saying? Like, come on. You don't want 100,000 copies of the book. Like, this is really gatekeeping. You love the book so much that you want it to be a low print run, thereby decreasing the odds of that book continuing. This is like the worst type of gatekeeping. Like, it doesn't even make sense. It's shooting yourself in the foot with the longest musket you can find. Like, literally, your chin is leaning on the butt and the muzzle is resting on the top of your foot.
You're right, Tim, or Tice.
What's that?
He said it happens with music too. He's absolutely right.
It makes no sense.
Happens
Yeah, it happens with music too. It makes no sense with Marvel, DC. And it's like, yo, I see it all the time. I'm always arguing. Listen, I like buying a book. We do spec. I love to buy a book and the book hits. There's nothing like the feeling of paying cover price for a book and a week later. Dude, I like the long-term spec even the most. I like buying a book 3 years ago for $3, thinking to myself, yo, I'm buying a bunch of these books now. I done dug through back issue bins. You're around the number ones where we got like 15, 20 copies for like cover price, knowing that, yo, when this thing hits, just to feel like you were like, wow, your spec hit. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you spec'd on it and it hit. Like, I love that feeling too. But
those stupid High Republics, man.
Listen, y'all keep seeing me post these books. Yeah, we got, yeah. Y'all keep seeing me post these monstrous books. I love this book. I'm going to be screaming monstrous to the high heaven. I love this book. Such a low print run. Everybody should be buying this book. You keep seeing me post it. If you're in the ComicSense group, you keep seeing me post Monstrous. Why? Because I want you to buy the book, because it is my favorite book in print. I want people to take advantage, because when this thing hits, and it's going to hit, and it's such a low print run, when it hits, man, and I want people to take advantage of it. Why? Because I want the creative team to be able to continue to produce this book. I want them to sell 100,000 copies. I want the book to be successful. I want it to branch off into other forms of media and people discover and come into the comic media and bring money into the medium, put it in the creative team's pockets, but put it into the comic community's pockets looking to buy this book. I don't want to gatekeep. Oh, I don't want... All the speculators are buying Monstrous now. I'm out on that book. Huh? Really? You're out on the book that you loved because you're selfish. You didn't care about the medium. You didn't care about the community at all. It's okay to care about the value of your long box. Just don't gatekeep in the process. Don't tell somebody else that they're what's wrong with the market or the hobby. That's kind of what I was getting at, Tice.
I think we heard a little bit of that a couple weeks ago from some influencers.
Yeah, Chase. So I get what you're saying, though. You know how it sucks. You feel like everyone relates to your thing, but it helps your thing.
Not only does it help your thing, Tice, it kind of validates your taste, right? Like if you were the first person on it and the only one on it for such a long time, and you knew it was dope, well, it kind of validates your thoughts on that thing. Like, I think this is great. Oh, other people think it's great too. Not that you need other people to validate your thoughts, but other people think it's great too, which makes it a really great thing. Listen, we could have the little comic book that gets 8,000 print run every issue, and it's great, and only a small corner of the community are exposed to it. Or we could have a Walking Dead franchise where everybody gets exposed to this great thing. A Star Wars franchise. That comes from it being consumed by more and more people, by it being put in the reach of more and more people. So I get it. I just said, I'm going to feel some type of way when everybody's all over Monstrous, but it's not stopping me from pushing and promoting it. And I know I'm going to feel some type of way because I've been screaming Monstrous by myself on an island for some years now. Buy Monstrous, buy Monstrous. Listen, I could order 30 copies of Monstrous. They're done. But let's say it came out next month. I could order 30 copies of Monstrous, and I'm going to sell 2 or 3 to me. And 27 are going to go in a long box. That's why I don't order Monstrous. Once in future. Although,
so we just got done organizing all the books. We got a short box of like 3 issues of Once in Future. We just have a short box full of them.
Yep. Love Once in Future. Love the book.
But you and I collected.
But here's the whole thing. In a couple months, a couple years, when that thing pops.
Yeah, Once in Future will pop. It's already those earlier issues are already hard. Yeah. And number 30 is going to be the final issue. So
didn't we just have that discussion about? I think it was number 8. I'm trying to track down.
Yes.
And it's like the impossible book to find.
Why are you trying? It's the only. You don't even have any other Once in Futures.
I got a whole stack of them.
What you have the run? You're just missing 8.
Well, eight's one of the harder ones that like I could get lesser grade copies of. Like,
it was a pandemic book.
Yeah, it was a pandemic book.
It was the pandemic book, actually, the hardest, lowest printed book during the pandemic.
So it was kind of like Wolverine number 2.
The limited series or the ongoing?
The current run.
It was hard? Oh, pandemic book.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, tough book. So yeah, I think we covered the gamut this week. I want everyone to like and follow ComicSense on Facebook and join our ComicSense Facebook group. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Find us on the Instagram. Find us on the Twitter. Listen, please please, if you watched tonight on Facebook and you contributed, you enjoyed it, you participated, you got anything from it, please go over to the YouTube channel and click subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up or give it a thumbs down. Please go over to the YouTube channel. Just click the notification bell. Give the video a thumbs up. We have some really dope content coming on YouTube. Our ComicSense Presents is going to evolve into ComicSense 101, and we're going to start dropping those ComicSense Presents spec streams and what do they call them? TED Talks. Those ComicSense Presents TED Talks, where we do things like specking limited series and bringing you different types of information, inside information on comics, just dropping that knowledge. It's evolved. Shout out to Robert Feliciano, Robert C. Paulson for the name. Where ComicSense Presents is evolving into ComicSense 101, and those will stream simultaneously on YouTube and on the ComicSense page. Final Order Cutoff, Uncanny Spec, another show that will stream, that does stream simultaneously on YouTube and the ComicSense page as well. So please, we are trying to get into the algorithm on YouTube. We are trying to get into the algorithm. We have beef with the unfair market. Ian has beef with social media influencers. I could care less about a social media influencer, but
listen, when you try to talk tough with me, it doesn't work.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So please head over to the YouTube page, like the page, subscribe to the channel. That having been said, we are getting ready to get up out of here. I am going to let Kaiser Trobze and Ian Michaels have a few words, and then I'm going to sign us off.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out, for spending your evening with us. Good night.
Thank you. Again, as always, you guys are the reason why we're here. You guys are the reason why we get to bring this to you, every week. We get to bring you, there's some good spec every once in a while. We get to have good talks. So shout out to all you folks.
Absolutely. Shout out to my 3C family. That is the ComicSense crowd, community, and crew. This has been CSP, ComicSsensory Perception, episode 7. We'll be back next Friday for episode 8. Until then, I am Issue X.